I'm A.E. Perkins, and this is the Beyond Our Vision podcast. (2,565 miles) if you drew a straight line between New York City and San Francisco. In the 1950s, American President Dwight Eisenhower connected the popularity of the automobile with a booming post-war economy. He saw roads and highways as the key to making the United States physically and spiritually united. He saw a vast grid of interlocking high-speed thoroughfares pushing the nation into an adventurous future. The interstate highway system, spanning the distance between California and New York in the early 1960s, would see Eisenhower's vision become reality. Horatio Nelson Jackson was born in Toronto, Canada, an immigrant doctor living on the west coast of the United States at the turn of the 20th century. Jackson was fascinated at the idea of crossing the country alone, behind the wheel of an automobile. In his time, the car was a new kind of expensive, oversized toy, but Jackson was obsessed. He asked if it was possible. Could someone avoid the crowds, congestion, and inconvenience of passenger rail to get from where he lived, San Francisco, to where he wanted to be, New York City? In San Francisco, Jackson took a $50 bet that he could drive a four-wheeled motorized car across the country. He didn't have a map to show him established paths or roads, but Jackson did convince mechanic Sewell Crocker to ride with him in a used two-cylinder Winton motor carriage from California to New York City. The car had neither roof nor windshield, and the two men announced they would try to cross the West by way of the old Oregon Trail and stride the Mississippi River at St. Louis. Newspaper reporters and photographers swarmed the duo and proclaimed them the new American explorers of the age. Car enthusiasts had driven Wintons and other automobiles around the East Coast for several years, but no one had tried to take one across the entire country. On May 23, 1909, Jackson and Crocker set out eastward from Oakland and promptly suffered a flat tire. They replaced it in time to continue their first day's drive into darkness, at which point they discovered the side lanterns mounted on the car were too dim. The pair stopped in Sacramento to mount the spotlight on the front and collected some road maps before continuing on their way. Dealing with mechanical breakdowns and ill-advised detours over rough terrain, Jackson and Crocker drove for a week just to get to Oregon. The Winton ran out of gas. Then it ran out of oil. The car suffered more flat tires before Jackson and Crocker managed to reach Idaho, the next state on their route. That's where their fortunes took a strange and unusual turn. Near the city of Caldwell, Idaho, the pair picked up a bulldog named Bud. Newspaper reporters following the journey noted the dog arrived under unusual circumstances. One rumor suggested the canine was stolen. Another report said Jackson and Crocker bought the dog for $15, almost as much as they had to pay for 15 liters of fuel back in Oregon. The dust from the roads and highways irritated the dog's eyes, so the men obtained a pair of goggles for the animal, endearing him further to the newspapers and their readers. The two adventurers and their canine companion became celebrities, with reporters and photographers tracking their every move, meeting them at each stop on their route. Suddenly, it was not as difficult to get gasoline for the car's engine or spare tires for the wheels. They made it to Omaha, Nebraska on July 12th and crossed the Mississippi a short time later. Then a report claimed the car crashed over a bump in the road near Buffalo, throwing all 3 occupants out of the vehicle. The traveling trio escaped injury, and after some repairs, they were back on their way, the finish line finally in sight. On July 26th, after 63 days on the road, Horatio Jackson, Sewell Crockett, and Bud arrived in New York City, healed and healthy, in the first car to successfully cross the American continent. 60 years later, their path of mostly dirt and gravel would be paved over with asphalt and concrete, and cruised by Chryslers and Cadillacs and Corvettes. And the story of 2 men and a dog became but a footnote on the road to a dimming sunset, just beyond the beckoning horizon. You've been listening to the Beyond Our Vision podcast. For more about the story you just heard, read Beyond Our Vision, Stories from the Decade That Changed Everything, available on Amazon.com. I'm A.E. Perkins. See you next time.